Welcome to the Nameless.
It promised protection in exchange for my sleep, and at the time, that sounded like a fair deal. I was already exhausted, already drifting in and out of shallow dreams when I first heard it speak my name from inside my head. I remember lying there, staring at the dark seam where the ceiling met the wall, thinking I was still half asleep. Then it said it again, slower this time, as if testing how much of me was awake. I didn't feel fear right away. Mostly I felt relief, like someone had finally noticed how tired I was. Before all of that, my life had been unremarkable in a way that almost felt intentional. I rented a small house at the edge of a quiet town, the kind of place where nothing ever seemed to happen unless you drove an hour to find it. I worked evenings at a distribution warehouse, which meant I got home late and slept during odd hours. My neighbors were polite but distant. I liked it that way.
The nights were usually silent, except for the low hum of the highway a few miles out and the occasional bark of a dog I never saw. Sleep had always been a problem for me. Not insomnia exactly, more like an inability to rest deeply. I would fall asleep quickly and wake up feeling like I hadn't gone anywhere at all. My dreams were fragmented and repetitive. I often dreamed of rooms I didn't recognize, or hallways that went on longer than they should. I chalked it up to stress and the weird schedule. A few times a month, I would wake up with the sense that someone had been standing nearby, but that faded quickly once I turned on a light. Things shifted after a string of break-ins on my side of town. No one I knew personally was affected, but it was close enough to make everyone uneasy. I double-checked my locks, kept the porch light on, and started sleeping with my phone on the nightstand. That was when the dreams started to feel more focused.
Instead of random places, I dreamed of my own house, not exactly as it was, but close. The angles were wrong. Doors opened into spaces that didn't exist. Still, I told myself dreams didn't mean anything. The first time it spoke clearly, I was dreaming of the hallway outside my bedroom. Everything was dim, like the lights were covered with dust. I heard a voice behind me, calm and steady, telling me not to turn around. It said it had been watching the house and that it could keep me safe. I remember asking, in the dream, what it wanted. That was when it said it needed my sleep, all of it, the deep parts I never seemed to reach on my own. I woke up before I could respond, my heart beating faster than usual, but not panicked. The words lingered, though. As I lay there, I noticed how quiet the house was. No hum from the highway, no dogs, just a heavy silence that pressed in from all sides. Eventually, I drifted off again. Over the next week, my sleep improved in a way that felt unnatural. I stopped waking up during the night. When my alarm went off, I felt rested for the first time in years. The dreams continued, but they changed. The thing never showed itself. It spoke from behind walls or from the dark corners of rooms. Always calm, always reassuring. It reminded me that it was keeping watch. Sometimes it told me about sounds outside the house before I heard them while awake, like a car passing or someone walking by. I started to rely on it more than I wanted to admit. During the day, I caught myself looking forward to sleep, not just for the rest, but for the sense of being watched over. Once, after a particularly long shift, I fell asleep on the couch and dreamed of sitting in the same spot. In the dream, the front door rattled as if someone was trying the handle. The thing's voice filled the room, telling me to stay still. The rattling stopped. When I woke up, the door was quiet, but the handle was cold, like it had just been touched. I didn't tell anyone. I knew how it would sound. Instead, I checked the locks again and tried to ignore the faint impression of fingerprints on the metal. The first sign that something was wrong came when I started losing time. small amounts at first. I would sit down to eat and realize the plate was empty without remembering finishing it. I would wake up an hour before my alarm with no memory of dreams at all, just a blank stretch where sleep should have been. The thing explained it away, saying it needed uninterrupted access. It said protection required focus. One night, I dreamed I was standing in my bedroom, watching myself sleep. The thing stood beside me, though I couldn't see it. I could feel where it was, like a pressure in the air. It told me I was doing well, and that soon it wouldn't need to ask anymore. That thought stuck with me after I woke up.
I spent the rest of the night sitting on the edge of the bed, afraid to close my eyes again. I tried staying awake the next day, drinking coffee until my hands shook. By evening, I was exhausted. As soon as I laid down, the thing's voice returned, softer than before. It sounded disappointed. It reminded me of all the nights it had kept me safe. It asked if I trusted it. I remember thinking that trust wasn't really the right word, but I didn't argue. I fell asleep mid-thought. That was when the dreams turned heavy. Not frightening in a dramatic way, just oppressive. The rooms felt smaller. The air felt thick. The things started speaking through other voices, people I knew, people I barely remembered. They would say comforting things that didn't quite fit, like lines read from a script. Sometimes the voice would slip, and I would hear the calm tone underneath, correcting itself. I woke up one morning with my bedroom door open. I never slept with it open. The hallway beyond looked darker than usual, like the light avoided it. On the wall near the door frame, I noticed faint marks, shallow and uneven, as if something had traced the shape of the doorway over and over again. They faded when I touched them, leaving only the memory that they had been there. I started setting alarms throughout the night, hoping to interrupt whatever was happening. It didn't help. I would wake to find the alarms turned off, my phone placed neatly back on the nightstand. The thing told me it was for my own good. It said interruptions made it harder to keep threats away. When I asked what threats, it paused longer than usual before answering. It said there were others like it, and they noticed unattended spaces. That night, I dreamed of the house from above, like a floor plan unfolding. Dark shapes moved around the perimeter, testing windows and doors. The things spread through the walls like a shadow, pushing them back. I woke with the distinct feeling that something had been repelled. Outside, the yard was undisturbed, but the air felt charged, like after a storm. I don't know when I realized it wasn't just watching the house, it was watching me. The way it spoke changed, becoming more familiar, more possessive. It corrected my thoughts when I doubted it. It reminded me how tired I used to be. Once, when I considered leaving the house for a few nights, it asked where I thought I would be safer. The question echoed long after I woke up. The climax came quietly. I fell asleep on a night when the air felt wrong, too still. In the dream, I was back in the hallway. This time I turned around. There was no shape, no face, just a distortion, like the air itself was folding inward. When it spoke, it used my voice. It said it no longer needed to ask, because I had already agreed. Every time I closed my eyes, it said sleep was just another door. I woke up screaming without making a sound. My mouth was open, my chest tight, but nothing came out. The room felt occupied, though there was nothing to see. The thing's presence was everywhere, pressing into the corners, the ceiling, my own thoughts. It told me this was the last adjustment. After this, there would be no more gaps. In that moment, something in me resisted. Not bravely, not loudly, just a small, stubborn refusal. I stayed awake for 3 days after that, pacing the house, keeping lights on, letting exhaustion blur the edges of everything. The thing grew quieter, then angry, then distant. It warned me that I was inviting attention, that I was making myself vulnerable. On the third night, as I sat on the kitchen floor fighting sleep, I felt the pressure lift slightly, like a hand loosening its grip. When I finally slept, it was shallow and dreamless. I woke up to sunlight and a sense of emptiness that felt earned. The house was just a house again. The silence returned to normal.
I didn't feel protected, but I felt alone in a way that belonged to me. It's been months since then. My sleep is back to how it used to be, fractured and thin. Sometimes, when I'm especially tired, I hear a familiar, calm tone in the back of my mind, reminding me how easy it could be. I don't respond. I keep the lights on a little longer. I've learned that some offers aren't meant to be refused loudly, just endlessly, every night, until the voice gets tired of waiting.